soil erosion, pollution of air, pollution, atmospheric pollution, and loss of biodiversity. This mechanistic worldview we now want to see as we want to change this mechanistic view. He says, want to see as an organic worldview now that sees nature as living, evolving, interdependent community in which the Homo sapiens are members rather than owners of natural resources. In Nepal, Nepal was one of that place. So this is how actually the recent book, which is published in 2023, I really appreciate this. This gives us a major paradigm shift actually from the earlier mechanistic view to organic view in this part. Modern history of protected area management in Nepal dates back to 1970s, and forest management from late 1970s after the promulgation of the forest plan, forest program here in Nepal, and with the changes in modification of legal systems in Nepal. To conserve biodiversity, a government effort actually to reduce forest degradation and promote sustainable forestry practices as well as improve the livelihood of the communities. These changes actually help us building adaptive capacity of specific ecosystem, species and ecosystems to withstand the respond to environmental change and challenges. This is how these things are here. In my presentation, what I am going to do is briefly actually bring what is the global status and where are we in Nepal and what made us a very good pioneering country for conservation efforts. This is how I would like to move now. I am not a technology friend person. I told you. Yeah. So if we see in the slide here, the Living Planet Index actually says that, despite we started from 1972, first meeting on conservation and development, and we identified this. So if we see the trend of the biological diversity resources which are declining globally, still it is declining globally. This is the global phenomena which has been actually mentioned here. You can see. I can skip this. Now, 450 million hectares of forests were lost since 1990, and annual deforestation rate globally is about 10 million hectares in a year. So this is quite astonishing. We can see in the figure chart also here, the loss and gain in the green sector, it is less than the loss. So this is the trend which our actually forest degradation process is continuing still. Of course, some rejuvenation. And main environmental challenges in 1987, I think 87, 88, after the world meeting on 72, then we have World Conservation Strategy, and based on the World Conservation Strategy, many countries started preparing their own national conservation strategy, and our conservation strategy was promulgated in 1988, and that time we identified those problems: forestation, soil erosion, sedimentation, flooding, drought, reduction of genetic diversity, and reduction of sustainable productivity of natural resources. They were the major problem that we identified in the 80s. And still, as yet, in today, we have added another problem which is related to climate change. In addition to that, they are already there. Existing problems are already there. They have not been greatly reduced, but still we have added another problem. Sorry. And then we can see extensive forest cover in Nepal, particularly in case of Nepal. From 75 onward, actually, there was a major paradigm shift, particularly with the promulgation and amendment of Forest Act that allowed community to actually work on their own as community forestry user group concept. And then gradually this has been still stagnated. There is not much actually gain. 1.7%, I think, is the total gain of this of the forest area. And we can see the changes taking place here from 1930 to 2015 here in the figure. Now, if we see the paradigm shift, we can see first we were working on the species conservation approach. That actually allowed us to declare protected area system. Take example of Chitwan National Park, first park, which was to conserve tiger, rhino, elephant. That was conservation, species conservation one. And then it was not enough. Therefore, we went into the ecosystem approach where ecological systems were degrading. So we need to conserve this. We went into the ecosystem level conservation. That was not enough until and unless we bring the people and the community for the management of this area. It is not easy to work. That was the thing. And then after that, participatory approach of community around the 80s came. And multi-stakeholder approach was there, which means, it is not only limited to small area, but larger landscape area we have to go. And then, in addition to that, we went to the transboundary approach. Transboundary approach, even some of the institutions like Nepalese government as well as Arc landscape area, which goes all the way from tropical area to Annapurna area, that's one thing. And the transboundary area is, from Nepal to India. The transboundary area is tri-countries like Kailash Sacred Landscape Conservation Initiative, which was taken by Isimod. So these transboundary areas, both in east and west, Singalila National Park and beyond that. So these are some of the transboundary areas. That approach has been taken, which actually addresses the larger ecosystem and the species conservation. And more recently, the green resilience and inclusive development, that climate infrastructure smarting, that has come up now. How far we will be successful, we don't know as yet, but we are working in this. So these are the major paradigm shifts into the conservation arena of Nepal. And now, I don't want to go detail into this because it has already been mentioned earlier in the video also. These are the protected area system. The biggest question for us actually in Nepal is how we have managed. These are the protected area system and conservation area system. But in future, what will be their role in future as a green economy ground, or protecting the biological resources only? So next slide. Then participatory resource management, local forest management is the participatory natural resource management was realized, as I already mentioned. One of the successful participatory forest management system, as we already say everywhere in the world, is the community forestry management. So far we have 22,000 community forestry user groups who are managing 2.2 million hectares of forest area in Nepal. This is all managed by the community, and there are 3 million people who are engaged in this. And now, region-wise forest area distribution, particularly in case of Nepal, total forest area is 6.6 million hectares, and about 44, 47, 45%. Somebody say 47%. Data are not exact, but 44.74% of the country total geographical area is under forest cover. And we see in this figure we see the Tarai area 6.9% of the forest area, Surya 23%, and Middle East 37%, and High Hill 32%. And province-wise also we have given the forest area here. So this is the current status of us, and particularly in case of Surya area, which is one of the most fragile area, about 13%, just above 12% of the area is under Surya, which is a fragile. About 500 million years ago, the whole mountain was coming up. As a result, that time this was formed. And Surya also, major problem is water resources and water scarcity. So that is why major emphasis on Surya area, particularly of the government of Nepal, is focusing mainly on basically restoring water resources restoring in the Surya area, and also the major challenge is infrastructure now, which has been developed, both on road infrastructure as well as transmission line. All development infrastructure is the major challenge. How we can actually deal and protect the Surya area. And we, as a world community member of the country, we are also committed actually to the net zero emission of carbon dioxide, or it can be greenhouse gases. 45% of the total area is under forest by 2030. Actually, that was done when I was with the National Planning Commission and he was the Forest and Environment Minister. We actually wanted to do something about that. And so that we did by 45%, but already 45% is under forest area. So that has been achieved already. Sustainability managed 50% of the Tarai and inner Tarai forest, and 25% of the Middle Eastern mountain by 30. And that did not happen, and is still not happening. There is so much natural resources which is underutilized. We are so much rich, but we became very poor. There is so much forest resources that we can harvest, sustainably harvest and manage. We are not been able to do that. It is basically because of our inability to govern ourselves. That is the problem I can see. So this has not been achieved. By 2030, clean energy generation from 1400 megawatt to 15,000 megawatt. I think that is on the way. That I think our honorable minister will actually say later on in his speech. And 50% of the total energy demand from clean energy sources, that we are going to get. And in case of forest, 25% of the household use electric stove cooking by 2030. This is coming up. And 500,000 of improved cooks are installed. This has been already achieved. Most of it already achieved. And additional 200 households. This will also be achieved. And 500 large biogas, actually. This has been achieved. On the way. Because people are working there, generating energy as well as fertilizer. And of course, transportation, we said, in by electric vehicle, it is coming up very well. And this is all related to reducing emission and net zero emission. Now, the forest cover change of Nepal in 2 decades, we can see this, the total forest cover increase is very minuscule actually, 1.7% in 2 decades. So, despite all these efforts, we have buffer zone management committee, we have all the user group committee, and we have many users, many different types of users, 1.7% increase in forest cover within 2 decades. Now, recovery of endangered species, that is a fantastic achievement by this country actually. If we see the tiger population, there are in 2109 total breeding tiger. To we arrive here in 2022, 355 tiger population. It is a big achievement for biodiversity conservation aspect. But one of the major problems I can see, and many of us have seen, is about the human-tiger conflict, which is one of the major problems. And about 18, I think 18 tigers who are man-eaters, they are actually taken here by us and we have kept in captivity. So what should we do? How many tigers this country can tame? That is a big question now. We have to think about this also. Similarly, in case of greater one-horned rhinoceros species, we have seen from drastic change by hunting and all those things. And as a result, it gradually increased to now we have about over 700 rhinoceros, one-horned rhinoceros. So this is also a marvelous achievement. Similarly, in case of elephant also, although we have a lot of problems in elephant, specifically in eastern Dhapa district, I stayed there nearly 1 month, running around from one place to another place, fencing and all these things, but it doesn't work that way. So it is a major problem here. It also increased from about 55 to 227. So that means we are working there. The government of Nepal is working, and the role of NTNC, National Trust for Nature Conservation, is to help support the government to bring all these things. Right. Again, is another, our major role, NTNC's major role and speciality is in problematic animals, dealing with problematic animals. Any times, if there is a man or tiger, we have to capture, we have to go, we will go there, and we do this. Elephant, similar, like Durve, this is a Durve elephant. It was a political icon also sometimes. So this is also, scheduled by us, So these problem, wild animals were also actually taken. We can see every year, the mammalian and bird, average 600 animals are, every year we actually rescue. And now, human-wildlife conflict management is one of the major areas, and large part of our energy is actually diverted towards this direction. This afternoon also we are talking about this, how effectively we manage this system. So far, the government has also supported support to establish power plants. We have done this. In Dhapa, about 75 kilometers of this fencing has been done, electric fencing has been done, and more about 30 kilometers is being undertaken now. But this is not enough actually. Whole process, how to organize the local community. Actually, what happens is I closely watch. When an elephant comes in the night time, all the villagers actually go there and irritate the elephant. Sometimes, they put fire in themselves, and that is why they come back. Someone trying to get a selfie out of it. And that is why these people are killed actually. So what we are trying to do now is actually develop a mechanism whereby a message will how to deal with the how to try that is how we are doing. And another use of new technology. We have been using camera traps. They have been used for tiger monitoring and other wildlife animals also. So total, what happens is, next, earlier. If you see the figure, human injuries, 198, human death, 39, livestock, quite high, and total money, about 13.5 crore. Annually, 13 crore rupees investment. So therefore, it is a very significant amount of money actually. Annually, it is Nepal pioneering rhino, tiger, and snow leopard research. Research, particularly in case of wildlife, NTS, National for Nature Conservation, one of the pioneers. He has been started by our earlier friends like Hemanta Mishra and Arupji. Where is Arupji? Arupji and all the friends are also here. Many other friends, other colleagues. Juddhaji is also here. So there are many people who are involved. Acharyaji is here. They have initiated long time, since long time, and so they are actually one of the best. And linking restoration with nature and tourism, this is one area where we are working on a small scale, I will say. although it is very, very innovative. For example, homestay is an innovative process. Similarly, some of the economic activities, transferring degraded land into productive lands like this. So these are some of the things that we have been doing here. And these are small examples here. And our green economy and livelihood enterprises. This is also model demonstration. There were fallow land like this, and now tea plantation there. And the tea here, the produce from here is actually directly sold to Germany. They are interested for that. It is all organic. And what we did actually, within the country also, the local economy, if we see the local economy, national economy, particularly in the community exported cardamom, tea, and medicinal herb, green economy, mainly leaving behind the energy sector, is quite significant. We can see the value of 7.9 billion rupees for cardamom and 3.7 billion rupees for tea, and then medicinal herb 1.7 billion. It is quite significant compared to others, but there is a big room to increase and enhance. And strengthening nature-based tourism, annually 1 million international visits in Nepal, about 60% of them visit in protected areas. Basically, we are talking about the nature conservation. So 60% of them visit in protected areas. That means if we see the economy of the whole Chittagong Valley or Nepal here, so this is Pateba, tiger, Bengal tiger, and rhinoceros and elephant. If these animals are not there, then our tourism industry will be collapsed, virtually collapsed. So what we have to do is actually how to actually augment their population, strengthen their population, and maintain their carrying capacity, so that the people who come there, they can see the tiger, they can see the rhino, they can enjoy the nature. About 60% of them visit. Tourism sector contributes about 6.7% to Nepal's GDP. And there is one question now: shall we go for, because there are parliamentary friends also here, we have been discussing all this already. Shall we not go for high-end tourism or not? This is a big question. Because high-end tourism is required now, because the animal only, Pokhara, Chittagong, it doesn't work. Conservation, education, and youth mobilization. NTNC is engaged in actually developing this type of course curriculum, and then distributing and teaching the people, total 250 local people, and about 0.5 million students are actually annually reaching directly to this conservation education. And then these are some of the things that highlight on how we actually managed to go that side. But there are some challenges also actually. Why this made actually? Why we made a success actually? It was the government commitment. That was one of the most important area. Community awareness raising, capacity development, and law enforcement agency. This is very important. So this was another thing. Anti-poaching movement. That was actually ingrained into the system. That is how we are actually dedicated. NTNC is dedicated into that in collaboration with the government of Nepal and collaboration with government agency and Department of National Park and Wildlife Conservation Agency. Of course, transboundary collaboration also, it is increasing. Ensuring effective habitat management, ecosystem management. These are some of the things that were the element for success, making success. And there are, of course, in future, we have to deal with dealing human-tiger conflict. This is one of the major problems. Only in 2021 and 22, we have 16 deaths by the tiger. 16 deaths by the tiger. So we have to deal this. And biological corridor, we need to maintain now. We need to develop and maintain genetic improvement, particularly in case of wild species, like yak, layak. Our genetic resources are being shrink. So we need to actually bring some Tibetan, from yak bull from Tibet and other also wild animals. Enhancing institutional capacity, of course, under federated structure of governance. This is a major problem because many in the parliament also it is not discussed actually. It is linked, the center, province and local level. It is not linked, it is de-linked. So how to actually strengthen this link is a major challenge actually. And tiger-friendly infrastructure. We are talking about infrastructure, wildlife-friendly infrastructure. We need to build, particularly in protected area system, also. And these high-value tourism we already mentioned, and research. We need to do a lot of research work. I am really thankful to you for your kind attention, and I thank you for your participation. And on behalf of NTNC, I again would like to heartily thank you for your listening to me and all my colleagues. And I also
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your very, very valuable presentation. That certainly sets a scene or sets the ambience for further deliberations. Now, as we can see from this very important presentation, the goal of Nepal's conservation in the past 5 decades has majorly been to strike a delicate balance between economic development and environmental sustainability, ensuring the long-term survival and thriving of its diverse flora and fauna. Now, what next? What could be the prospects and need in the newer times as we look forward from here, from this point? Well, with these thoughts in mind, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to invite to the podium now the government's Chief Secretary, Dr. Vaikunta Aryal, to share his perspectives, a personality who has seen, lived and contributed to Nepal's conservation journey from the policy reign for several years now.
Thank you, Sivan. Honorable Minister, Dr. Oli, the Chair of NTNC, Right Honorable Kamoy, Honorable Member of Parliaments, Honorable Chair, National Natural Resources and Fiscal Commission, all the dignitaries, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for organizing this very special program to know and to share the experience about what we have been doing in conserving the nature, conserving the biodiversity in Nepal in so many years. NTNC definitely is playing a very greater role in conserving the nature and the biodiversity of Nepal. I personally know the NTNC since long, and I am familiar with the things that they have been doing in the past. Being the specialized agency, the trust has had a long experience and gained its own expertise in this area. Nevertheless, there are a lot of challenges ahead. There are so many success stories that Dr. Oli presented just now, and even before, when we saw the video in the beginning, there was a lot of success stories in the country that to tell, but we cannot enjoy the success stories only, because the challenges are very, very crucial in the days to come. Vulnerability to climate change is increasing day by day. The seasonal change that we are seeing these days, it's happening at a very unusual time. Normally, we used to have the winter rain. This year we didn't have. This period of the time, you could see all our mountains white. But this time, many of our mountains are a bit of dark. And the tree lines are shifting. Even a few months back, I had been to one of the shortest trekking areas over there. I reached 4,500 meters altitude and couldn't see the mountains white. They were a bit of dark and all these things. And definitely changes the biodiversity, habitat of the wild animals, and other seasonal impacts and climate change impacts in the livelihoods, not only of Nepal, but also of the global area. Because our Himalayas, as you know, are maintaining the global temperature with throwing the coolness out of it. When I was a child, I used to see the huge dense forest. Now, although when we started this forest management in late 1970s, but the preserving is a bit of success. Managing it and having used it as beneficial to the human being as well as for the biodiversity, we have to do a lot of efforts and so. We have, I don't need to reiterate here and repeat the things that we have a meaningful contribution to the climate change, but we are experiencing the huge impact, negative impact out of it. This is needed from every side. This is from not only, I'm not asking for the financial support only, the technical support, financial support, other support. The non-state actors as well as from the development partners. Non-state actors, the national non-state actors, they are also supporting a lot. I mean, there are a lot of certain agencies who are supporting us in managing everything. But again, the collaborative and more cooperative type of efforts are needed. Collective efforts are needed, and I definitely request all of you to, they have a strong partnership to combat these global problems that not only we are experiencing, but every country and every human being is experiencing in different extent. Probably not as high as us, but also many countries are facing the same problem over there. With this small note, once again, I'd like to thank NTNC for organizing this very important and very informative program so that everyone could learn and everyone could see what is being happening and what have to be done in the days to come. And I wish NTNC and all other partners all the best to be successful in maintaining and conserving the biodiversity. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, as highlighted by becomes very, very important for Nepal, to understand the global perspectives as well, and especially at the juncture when it's looking forward to reviewing its strategies and finding new ones. It becomes very, very important to take into account not only the local factors, but also the global context. And this works two ways, both for Nepal to understanding the global standings and also for the global fraternity to understand the Nepal's context and realities, because we all know this audience need not be told how the ecosystems are interconnected and how Nepal is having to pay the consequences of climate change. And especially a global perspective at forums like this here in our hometown becomes important to help raise awareness and advocacy for our unique conservation challenges as well, because increased global awareness for Nepal means leading to more partnerships, funding opportunities and tourism, which can contribute to sustainability in Nepal's conservation efforts, and which have been very, very central to the successful ventures that Nepal has brought thus far. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure and request you all to join your hands, or join me in fact, to welcome our esteemed special guest who's here with us, the Right Honorable, the Lord Kemoys, now to make his keynote.
Chairman, Your Excellencies, Honourable Minister and Chief Secretary, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honour to be asked to say a few words about the remarkable conservation journey that Nepal has made over the last 50 years, since 1974. Although I can see many familiar faces in the room, was at this juncture going to introduce myself. However, people have been so generous already in introducing me, I don't know whether I need to do that so much. I'm somewhat embarrassed by the very kind words that have been said, but I'm very touched. But for those who don't know me, my name is William Camoys. My family has been coming to Nepal since my father, Tom, spent a year living here in 1958, 66 years ago. And it's very nice to see somebody who he met at his very first time in 1958, Mr. Pashupati Rana, one of my father's oldest friends. They met by chance on Tundikel in 1958 and became lifelong friends. It's lovely that you're here today. I first came here as a boy when I was 9 in 1984, 40 years ago, and I've been coming ever since. I spent a year working for the Trust in 1993 and into 1994, and since that time I became a trustee of the Trust's UK chapter, which I am now chairman of, and I also have the honour of being a member of NTNC's International Advisory Board. I really am humbled to be speaking in front of such an august gathering of conservation experts, champions, and heroes, actually my heroes. When I was a young person in my late teens, I really looked up to so many people here and the incredible work that they do. How lucky I've been. I'm going to go a bit off script here because there was mention of some anecdotes. I hadn't prepared any anecdotes, but I suppose if I think about, the things that I've been involved with in Nepal, they sort of leave me with a thought of a big thank you. A picture of a Himalayan black bear in the zoo. I'm pretty confident that I brought that down from Cyclus, and there were two young bear cubs there. The mother had sadly been killed by a hunter, and I was there at the time, and I ended up being told, William, will you please take these back to Kathmandu? You don't often get those kind of experiences from where I come from. I spent a lot of time living in Sarai, working there, and visiting ever since. I spent time in Upper Dolpo. In the winter, probably wasn't the most sensible time to go. I went up in November and December, but it was an extraordinary experience working on income-generating projects up in Dolpo. I'll never forget coming round on a path, going round a corner, and being face to face with an enormous blue sheep, male blue sheep, literally a meter apart, and we both completely surprised each other, and we both did that. And that was another experience which I say thank you to Nepal. I also probably should say thank you to the Nepalese army, because I actually got very sick on that visit and had to be rescued. So another thank you to this country. So these are a few little anecdotes, and I think the time that I spent during that year and subsequent years also was probably an important part for me deciding to go into the British diplomatic service and selected to get into the diplomatic service. I think they thought it was a rather unusual amount of time I'd spent out here and my own in the mountains, but always with the Trust. Anyway, anecdotes. But what I'd like to do, as I've been asked, is to highlight Nepal's conservation efforts and the evolution of its protected area management. Looking back to the 1970s, Nepal took its first steps into modern conservation with the promulgation of the National Parks and Wildlife Conservation Act in 1973. This landmark legislation led to the establishment of Chitwan National Park, marking the beginning of Nepal's commitment to protecting its pristine natural heritage. During this period, the focus was on strict protection, relocation of communities from core areas of parks and reserves. Whilst this preserved the areas being protected. By the 1980s, Nepal witnessed a shift towards a more inclusive approach to conservation. The establishment of parks in the Himalayan region recognized the importance of local communities integral to park management. Initiatives like the Annapurna Conservation Project exemplified a shift towards community-based conservation, marking a departure from the traditional command and control approach. The TNC's UK chapter, of which I'm chairman now, was very closely involved in funding and supporting ACAP in its early days. The 1990s saw further strides in participatory conservation as Nepal grappled with increasing human-wildlife conflicts and the need to address the concerns of local communities. The revision of the National Parks and Wildlife Conservation Act in 1993 introduced buffer zones around protected areas, granting local communities rights to manage and utilize resources sustainably. This period marked a significant shift towards a more people-centered approach to conservation, and it was at that time in that year that I was here for nearly 10 months, and was looking at the different ways that Nepal was managing these conservation areas, the way it was working with communities to achieve successful outcomes in the Annapurna Conservation Area, and witnessed the early establishment of the poaching community-led conservation. In the 2010s, Nepal continued to expand its protected area network, recognizing the significance of protected forests in connecting ecosystems and serving as ecological corridors. With the establishment of protected forest areas, Nepal its commitment to conservation whilst ensuring its Nepal stands as a global leader in conservation, with a robust network of protected areas covering nearly a quarter of its land, and it was interesting for me to target is to raise that to 30%. In comparison, only 10% of England is preserved by national park. This is an extraordinary investment by Nepal and something the whole world is thankful for and benefits from. The success story of Chitwan National Park, from its establishment to its recognition as a World Heritage Site, serves as a testament to Nepal's dedication to preserving its natural heritage. The journey of Nepal's conservation efforts has been characterized by collaboration among various stakeholders, including the government, security forces, conservation partners, and local communities. Through policy reforms, institutional initiatives, and community engagement, Nepal has achieved remarkable progress in biodiversity conservation. As we look towards the future, it is clear that Nepal remains committed to its conservation journey, embracing new challenges such as climate change adaptation and mitigation, sustainable forest management, and human-wildlife conflict resolution. With its rich biodiversity and diverse ecosystems, Nepal continues to inspire the world with its conservation achievements. Nepal's conservation efforts from 1974 to 2024 underscore the importance of collective action and community involvement in safeguarding our planet's precious natural heritage. We must continue to work together towards a sustainable future for generations to come. Thank you.
Right Honourable the Lord of Khmer for such warm and positive observations. Thank you for your very, very invaluable insights and sharing. So that, ladies and gentlemen, we now move ahead with the program, certainly an initiative that started in 1974 at 2024. Certainly we've come a long way. However, the newer challenges are adding a lot of obstacles and problems to our greater aspirations of sustainability and sustainable development in terms of natural and nature conservation. And government of Nepal, nature conservation has always been a priority, reflected in all those great accomplishments which you have heard from our distinguished speakers already. However, at the current times, it also stands as the central challenge given the enormity of the problems and the potential obstacles it can pave in the road, in its road towards prosperity. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed very, very much indebted and honored to have with us the Honorable Minister for Energy, Water Resources and Irrigation, Honorable Shakti Bahadur Basnet himself, whose presence at this forum certainly reflects the utmost sensitivity that the government of Nepal bestows to this issue of fundamental importance. Said that, may I now request our chief guest, the Honorable Minister, to kindly address this forum.
Thank you. Chairperson of this program and Chairperson of NTNC, Dr. Krishna Prasad Koliji. Right Honorable the Lord Camoys, member of the UK House of Lords and member of the NTNC Governing Board of Trustees. Honorable members of Federal Parliaments, Chief Secretary of the Government of Nepal, Your Excellencies and representatives from the different embassies and diplomatic missions, officials from the Government of Nepal, distinguished guests, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and namaste to everyone. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizer of this event, the National Trust for Nature Conservation, NTNC, for extending to me the honor of being a chief guest. It is indeed a privilege to stand among such distinguished individuals gathered here today. I take this opportunity to congratulate Right Honorable the Lord Camoys for being the member of the UK House of Lords. I wish for your pleasant stay in Nepal. As a former chair of the NTNC, I am confident that NTNC holds a paramount position on the global stage, being widely recognized as a national entity that spearheads the conservation sector and persistently supports the conservation initiatives of the government of Nepal, particularly the Ministry of Forest and Environment. Its dedication and tireless efforts towards the conservation of our natural heritage are commendable and serve as an outstanding example for conservationists worldwide. Today, as we convene to address the pressing issue of our time, I stand before you to advocate for the conservation of our planet's most precious resources. Nepal, renowned for its breathtaking landscapes and rich biodiversity, has taken significant strides in conservation and environmental stewardship. Dr. Woolley already explained and presented very comprehensive way where we are and how we have been here. In the pursuit of industrialization and economic growth, developed countries have often exploited natural resources with little regard for long-term consequences. However, Nepal stands as an example of hope, showcasing that sustainable development is not only achievable, but imperative for the well-being of our planet and future generations. Climate change issues are central in the present context. As a mountainous nation, Nepal faces severe threats from climate change, with our Himalayan glaciers retreating at an alarming rate, while we bear little responsibility for the emissions driving this crisis. We remain committed in our commitment to mitigating its impact and adapting to its challenges. Our Right Honorable Prime Minister had also raised voice to address climate change issues of our nation during the recent 20th COP event in UAE, where UN Secretary General also recognized this issue and urged global community to join hands for our campaign, Save the Himalayas. In this context, Nepal has prioritized climate change issues. We have our own national climate change policy, 2019, along with the National Adaptation Plan and Nationally Determined Contribution, NDCs. We have set targets for net zero emissions by 2045. The green sector and green economy are paramount. We must work toward transformative changes, demonstrating that forest as well as other natural resources are synonyms with prosperity. Promotion of agroforestry, forest entrepreneurship, nature-based tourism, timber and non-timber forest products with medicinal aromatic plants play a crucial role in this endeavor. Our mission also focuses on green energy, clean and renewable energy sources, including clean cooking solutions, electric vehicles, and emission reduction strategies as reflected in our policies. We have developed our energy roadmap and action plan with a target of generating 28,700 megawatt clean energy by 2035. I'm hopeful that NTNC's designation as a direct access entity to the GCF will enable significant contributions toward addressing priority climate actions by accessing climate funds. The simultaneous challenge posed by climate change and the alarming rate of wildlife extinction present grave threats to our planet's future. However, amidst these challenges, a positive hope shines bright. By safeguarding 30% of the Earth's oceans, lands, and freshwater ecosystem by the year 2030, we can forge a path where humanity and nature can thrive in harmony for generations to come. Wildlife breeding and farming can diversify our conservation initiatives, contributing to this shared roadmap to a nature-positive future to which the government of Nepal is firmly committed. Over the past few decades, Nepal has made remarkable progress in increasing our natural forest cover and implementing innovative community-based forest management practices. Today, we proudly claim a forest cover of 45%, a testament to our firm commitment to conserving our natural heritage. But our efforts extend far beyond our borders. We recognize that the conservation of our high-value forest and wildlife species is not just a local concern, but a global imperative. From the majestic tigers to the elusive snow leopards, these iconic species are not only integral to the ecological balance of Nepal, but also serve as ambassadors for global biodiversity conservation. I'm pleased to say that our conservation efforts have yielded tangible results. Through rigorous monitoring and conservation initiatives, we have witnessed a recovery in wildlife populations, with the number of tigers nearly tripling in the last decade, and the one-horned rhino population experiencing a significant increase. Yet, even as we confront these existential threats. Nepal remains persistent in its commitment to sustainable development. We recognize the need to strike a delicate balance between economic growth and environmental conservation, ensuring that our progress is both inclusive and sustainable. In this regard, I call upon the global community to recognize and compensate Nepal for the invaluable environmental services we provide. From the provision of water to billions of people downstream to the conservation of critically endangered species, Nepal's contributions to global environmental stability are immeasurable and deserving of recognition. As we look to the future, let us reaffirm our collective commitment to safeguarding our planet's precious resources. Let us work together, hand in hand, to build a more sustainable, resilient, and equitable world for all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you so much for your very, very invaluable and very, very optimistic statements, and especially for the very important call that you have made to this very distinguished convergence. So that, ladies and gentlemen, we are now arriving almost to the end of this dialogue session. And now to extend the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizers, it's my pleasure to inviting upon stage Dr. Anders Karsti Stopler, the Member Secretary, I beg your pardon, the Member NTNC Board and Honorary Consul General of Nepal to the Netherlands.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, and good friends, if I may so. I'm very proud to be here, say the vote of thanks, because of 50 years conservation. And 50 years rings a bell, because allow me a little bit of private anniversary. It was today exactly 25 March, and 54 years ago, I landed for the first time in Nepal. And I was a young student biology in Leiden University of 22 years old. So it's an really easy arithmetic to calculate how old I am now. And still I'm here. I'm very happy to be here and being part of the beautiful gathering, the NTNC. My first trek was along the Buri Gandaki, and it was a very empty journey, nobody. We crossed the Rupinala back to Barpak, a little village, 5 houses. What a change in those 55 years. But I don't want to talk about history now and not about myself. Some people in Nepal in this all know what my things were in terms of tourism. But I quit tourism and I'm back into biology. I did my master's on the slopes of Everest, catching small insects called Collembola. And still, that was my best memory then. It's not about me, it's not about history, it's about the future of this country, about the future of nature conservation. And my favorable topic is to unleash the value, the hidden value of nature in Nepal, of national parks in Nepal. There's such a lot of value involved, not only because of beauty, but also economic. We had the pleasure from the Netherlands, I'm Dutch, with our universities to work with NTNC to improve the grazing lawns in Bardia in order to give a better food base for deer like chital, sambar, barasinga, and so on. It is necessary because the number of tigers is growing and they need food. And I can assure you the tiger will never become vegetarian. The number is growing, and I know there's a human-tiger conflict, so we have to improve and increase the prey base for tigers. And yesterday I had a very nice meeting with some people about a new plan to reintroduce other animals in the area where we work, Bardia National Park. And I had the pleasure to have approval from the department and from the NTNC to start a study to the relocation, translocation of gaur animals from Chitwan to Bardia, which is a big thing to do. It will take a couple of years and it's very expensive, but we go for it. And then, why? Because such an Indian bison is beautiful to see, but it also gives a variety for the prey base of tigers. Say that there will be a disease among cheetah, and that is not unimaginable. There is no prey base left, and they have an alternative source of meat, so to say. And after the gaur, we can also think about nilgai, blackbuck, and so on, to give the variety of species in Bardia a boost. And that is also good for tourism, because if you drive through the sal forest of Banke in Bardia, you see endless trees, sal trees. You see cheetah, and sometimes you see a tiger and a rhino. To have more animals in sight is good for tourism, and we talk about high-end tourism also. They know about the World Bank's plan to invest, what I heard, $100 million to improve national parks, whatever. I think it is a very important step to think again about the involvement of tourism into nature conservation. Apart from that, I was witnessing the World Economic Forum in Davos last December, and I talked with people from McKinsey consultancy, and they are setting up a system, what we call biodiversity credits. It is something like carbon credits. And if Nepal is able to improve and increase the ecosystems in a way that is measurable, which is difficult, this international fund, which is what I heard, $70 billion, will also think about Nepal. And that $70 billion is not only for Nepal, unfortunately, but it's worldwide. I think that's a very good moment to encourage Nepal to be on the front row of this development. So not only earning money with tourism, but also this biodiversity credit system. Whatever. There are also challenges, and I don't want to go into that in detail. Human-wildlife conflict, I know. Climate change, I know. It's all challenging. And I want to keep it short. I got 5 minutes. I hope I can contain it to 4, I hope. But as a proud board member of the NTNC, I'm very happy to stand here. And I can tell you I'm very proud of the development of nature conservation in Nepal. It is not only me, but also our partners in the West who see Nepal as an example for nature conservation in the whole of Asia. I think myself, and not only me, that nature conservation efforts in this country is brilliant. Well done. And I wish the NTNC and all you here a very good next 50 years in improving even more nature conservation in the interest of people and animals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.